Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuhon And Son. Today we are on location in Gamma Gym. What's the address here, Dad?
1121 St. Catherine West.
Oh my God, fifth floor. But we're
moving soon.
We're going to be moving soon. But in the meantime, I am Ryan Stick-Gelina, and with me is the illustrious, the world-famous Philip Tuhon Gelina, member of the Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame, and also all-around cool daddy. And enough of that voice. It's kind of interesting to be in a room and recording this big. Usually we record in your kitchen, and now it's like this huge room full of sunlight and
Echoes.
I feel like going all flash dance in here. No, I feel like getting all footloose in here. You know, yeah. Donna, I don't remember who sings the song, but I need a hero. And I'd like epically run across the room for a good 15 seconds before running out of air and collapsing on the floor. Yeah, I'm aware of my mortality, Dad. I like you've been training all these years, and martial arts, you have to be kind of physical to be associated with it to a certain extent. But I haven't played in my band, The Real Deal, since our CD launch, which might have been in November or something, December, something like that. And yesterday in band practice, I wasn't even moving. I could feel. I'm like, when I moved my arm to play my bass.
Your fingers were hurting.
My fingers were hurting, but my arm was jiggling. Parts of my back were jiggling when I was playing bass. I'm like, what the hell? When did this start happening? Dad, let's take a little back. When you were as skinny as I was when I was younger.
Yeah.
Exactly. What part of your age happened where your body started catching up to you?
Well, I think it's when you reach your 30s, things start to change. It wasn't right actually till later that it happened. But I mean, when I was starting to see your mother, I weighed about 145, maybe 150 pounds.
Okay.
I actually had pants that were smaller than hers. I could have a size 26-inch waist. And it was really kind of amazing because it's not like that anymore. Yeah,
anyway, you were a broom with a face.
I was pretty small, and actually, I had
Philip Stick.
What happened is I moved out of my parents' house, my mother's house, and I moved into this apartment which I couldn't afford. So, in making enough money to pay for the apartment, I starved quite a bit. So I became what they call a vegetarian, which meant I couldn't afford meat, and. I was living on St. Catherine, or no, I was living on de Maisonneuve near Fort Street, and we'd go to Moe's Diner a couple of times a week.
I was just there,
and
I lost $40 in that place. I was very pissed off.
Okay.
No, on my way to the place. Sorry for interrupting you, but this is like happened recently. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but we went to La Belle Provence, and I had these coupons, and I go
and they wouldn't let you use them.
Wouldn't let me use them. So I was still holding my money. Took the coupons back, and I'm like, screw this place. So between that and walking to Moe's with my friend Reese Turner, professional photographer who did the pictures of the Holiday Hooligan show, great guy, I lost the money. I think I got robbed by a hamburglar or something because it was gone. And I walked back and forth, trying to figure out, searched under the table. The money evaporated. Or it was kidnapped by aliens and tested on. So anyway, yes, I was just in Moe's. The food was wonderful, though.
Yes, well, anyway, yeah. Moe's was a place. I mean, I knew the original Moe. I didn't know him. I mean, I knew of him. I used to work at the Montreal Forum when it was there, working for Donald K. Donald Productions, and we would go there before, during, and after the shows. Yeah. Because that's where when you do an out, everybody wants coffee, so go over there, get 20, 30 cups of disposable coffee, and they have all those denizens that would be there all night. It was open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right next to the Norm Silver's Mustache Bar. And so anyway, but we were there at we go to Norm's, and we would go to Moe's, and Moe's would be it was actually a pretty decent little restaurant. I mean, they'd have a lot of stuff there, but they were, at night, there was really kind of strange because during the day it was taxi drivers, at night it was taxi drivers, but a lot of times during the day they were just, regular civilians, and they had no idea what happened the other 23 hours that they weren't there. Okay. So it's pretty funny to see that kind of evolution happen.
So what kind of freaks hung out there at 4 o'clock in the morning in the 70s?
Well, I guess, you had a lot of transvestite types because it was a well-known bar, and, people like that in the 70s would well, and I don't mean that in a negative way. People like that would basically be out after
no,
midnight.
absolutely. I'm just wondering, like, the area of Atwater has changed considerably. We're 2015, but even in the 90s, the area of Atwater was very different. Like, with as far as I'm remembering, the only building I can remember being around there was that Giorgio's. That was kind of near Alexis Neon, but there was the Montreal Forum. Buffalo Bills was flourishing back then because of the Forum, and then I'm just wondering what kind of how do you pronounce that word?
Economy?
Yeah, well, what kind of economical, is that a word?
Economic.
All right, what kind of economic effect had the Bell Center leaving on that area, like before
Well,
and after?
actually, my martial arts school was right there. I mean, there was the Montreal Forum between the 4 streets that surrounded it were Atwater, St. Catherine, de Maisonneuve, and Clossy. Yeah. And the guy who I was just east of Clossy, between Clossy and Chomedy. And I rented a space from this guy, and there was a big parking lot behind. And then, of course, as I said, there was Moe's and the other place. Anyway, what he thought was going to happen is that the Montreal Forum was going to buy this huge lot across the street
You're telling
and
me about it,
expand that into the super huge version of the Forum.
Instead, they moved it.
Instead,
and he was stuck with all this land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he bought all this land. He speculated. He figured he was going to be able to hold them for ransom. And they shafted him or whatever. They didn't shaft him. They were able to. But there was a lot of things in there that were very difficult to deal with. They had the old Seville Theater.
And what is the Seville Theater?
The Seville Theater was it was a theater built in the Empire style.
I'm thinking Dave Seville. The Chipmunks play 3 shows a week, and
this is in the old days. Montreal used to have a lot of theaters, movie theaters, and you'd go in, there'd be like 2,000 seats in them. And then as the 60s and 70s evolved and there other kinds of music were played, because I guess an awful lot of these theaters were originally vaudeville theaters as well.
Okay.
Because they were, nowadays when you go to a theater, like when you go to it was called Cinema Scotiabank. It's basically a big room, but
I still call it Paramount because I fear change.
Anyway, so but whatever theater it is, in the newer ones, it's a big room. On one side, there's a wall, and then there's the screen, and then behind it, maybe there's like 5 feet where they have the sound system. But in the old days, it was a full theater. So they had, they used to have a theater that was very big downtown Montreal called the Capitol Theater, and that has since been taken down and replaced. We had the Paramount Theater. Was it the Paramount? No, I can't remember the name of this one.
I mean, you had a bunch. Like when I was a kid, and I'm remembering all right, we want to go see The Lion King, but where will we see it? We have 7 options.
Well, yeah,
downtown alone, we could go to Atwater. We could go to the Egyptian. We could go to which was in that little space in between Peel Metro.
The Imperial Theater. That's basically the Seville Theater was sort of like built in the same idea of the Imperial, and the Imperial to this day has been saved and renovated, and now.
So the Imperial used to be a movie theater.
Yeah, I saw a movie called.
Oh, Jesus.
What was it called? The movie I saw at the Imperial that I remember so well which of course I remember, was.
Your inability to remember this is very ironic. I hope you.
No, not Peter Sellers. It was Peter O'Toole's movie.
Okay.
What's his name? The guy.
Drunk English guy on screen.
No, I know. No, it's not drunk English guy. It was that.
Well, it's Peter O'Toole.
Yeah, but it was. He played a British officer who fought on the side of the Arabs during just before the First World War.
Okay.
Not Ben-Hur. Was it Ben-Hur? No, that's a different guy. Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that was one of those spectacular movies. It was huge. It was like really, really widescreen thing. Like it was bigger widescreen. Nowadays, when you see like big format, you would have like 2 inches on your TV set because the thing would cover the whole width. Yeah. It was amazing. Anyway, so this is what happened, and so they went and did their stuff. And that's the kind of theater that was. It was the Seville became a repertory cinema, so they would show different kinds of movies all day.
Yeah.
And that's but originally it was also a theater. It had a full stage. It had a backstage. It had dressing rooms, all that kind of stuff. And so did the Capitol Theater.
So it doubled as movie theater and an actual theater.
Well, no,
it
was an actual theater originally, probably a vaudeville theater.
Yeah.
And then as the movies
take us what vaudeville is to the viewers that are unfamiliar.
Like I'm familiar.
I don't know. Isn't it like burlesque or something?
Yeah, but not burlesque. It was vaudeville was just like
Well,
It
vaudeville.
what it was a variety show.
Oh, okay.
You had
Yeah, I got it.
singers and dancers and all sorts of
Yeah.
people, and a lot of these guys would be. It's in the heyday of vaudeville. You had people who would come to town and be there for a week or 2 or 3, and you'd have a whole playbill. And sometimes you'd have a very famous local person come in, and other not. So everything would be different.
All right, and let's take it back to the whole skinny topic. I just realized, because I want to call this episode "I Used to Be Skinny," and it goes for both of us. And my jiggling bass back. Anyway, do you recall like the exact moment where you're like, I'm not as young as I used to be, and where did
Just last week, as a
and
matter
where
of
did
fact.
this stomach come from?
Well, no, I think what happens is that, when you're young and you get injured, you don't think anything of it because you think that you'll always come back.
Yeah,
But I believe when it was just harder for you to recover, when literally you realize that when you came out of an injury, that you will never recover that stuff that you used to be like.
yeah.
And that's scary.
Okay.
And I don't remember when that was, but it's happened many times. Every injury I come out of now, I realize that, whoops, that's lost forever.
Yeah, because you're still like a pencil with a face when Serena was born. I remember that. But between that and then when I was born, I noticed there was a difference.
Well,
in photo-wise.
Okay, well, what happened is when I started doing Cali in 1981.
You gained some sympathy weight for Mom
Yeah,
when she
that's
was
it.
pregnant with me.
No, but between, Serena was born in 79, and that would have made me 27.
Yeah.
Almost going 26, 27. You were born when I was 31.
Oh, jeez.
32.
So you
Oh, no,
felt
32 or 33, yeah.
okay. Wow. No, it's just it's crazy when you think about it, because I'm going to be 31 in a month, and I'm like, by the time I was your age, you were already like obligationarily responsible for another life.
Two lives.
2 lives. Yeah, that's insane. I commend you, Father.
Anyway, so when I started doing that, my arms started growing.
You had no iPod to distract you from real life stuff. All right,
So
please
anyway,
continue.
I had a what's it called? Yes, I started taking up Cali in 81, and as a result, the manipulating the weapons started really building my forearms, and I think that's kind of what happened. So people started saying that I looked like I was Popeye because I had arms way in excess of my size.
Okay.
And then, in your 30s, actually what happens, you become more sedentary. Normally, if you ever look at athletes sort of like come into their own around 17, 18, and they become, their heyday is until they're about 28 or 29. And then after that, it's kind of like not all over, but it's much more difficult to maintain.
Okay.
Because they reach their peak supposedly around 28, 29.
Yeah.
And this is all theoretical, but that's why, for example, you rarely see Olympic champions who are into their 30s or 40s. I say compared to the amount of ones that are there between 20 and 30.
Interesting. I've always and this is like Batman mythology, but of course that's like not accurate at all because it's Batman mythology. But it's like, yeah, I was only in my prime when I was 35 and stuff, and because I was training for like 10 straight years to get to this conditioning or something.
Well, nowadays everything's different because everybody knows. I mean, with the advent, I guess, from the early 60s, even earlier than that, but early 60s when people started using performance-enhancing drugs, now they know an awful lot more about how the body works and how it doesn't work. And there's an awful lot of hiding and stuff like that. So
Okay. Hiding, what do you mean?
hiding, if you have, like, what's his name? The cyclist.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Armstrong?
Yeah. Armstrong, like, nobody found out about his drug taking or
Okay.
EPO use. He was basically it was one of his dissatisfied friends who ratted him out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying that in a good or a bad way. All I'm saying is that he was not discovered. Had he not been, such a person that would generate the kind of feeling in his old friend that would make them want to turn him in, he would have been able to maintain it. Even people may have spoken negatively about him for the rest of his life, but Lance Armstrong until he was stripped of his titles, was a legitimate holder of 7 Tour de France titles. And, so for that reason only, it's like it just makes you realize how much people knew about stuff, because before you could.
Well, back then you didn't have any TMZ or like serious paparazzis like that are willing to dig through somebody's garbage to get like this kind of information. Like there's newspapers, but there wasn't as many competing outlets in order to find dirt on people. And also, I think it's like the way we put up with celebrities and Kardashians in type of way is just we just want to know how stupid. Like, yeah, they have billions of dollars, but they're dumb.
Well, it's funny because there's a guy named
makes me feel better.
Well, there was a guy named Avery Brundage, and he was the president of the International Olympic Committee.
Okay,
he's an American guy, and I guess he was a pretty rich guy. And one of the things that he did was make sure that nobody who wasn't anybody who was a professional could not compete in the Olympics. It was his big thing. But the problem is that the only people who could compete in the Olympics, if they weren't rich, were other rich people. So as a result, the best athletes never.
How are they only rich people? It's because they could drop like everything just to train.
Yeah, exactly. If they were, most Olympic athletes are, in early or university age. And so, for example, a lot of people who are gymnasts are members of a gymnastics team at university, and that's how they get that full-time training. And the same with athletes who are the runners, jumpers, all these things. The universities generally have some kind of team, and that's what they use.
Okay. That's that's their outlet. Okay, so just with professional athletes and all that kind of stuff, I don't know anything about this because I'm lazy. But what are some professional athletes? Let's just wrap this up. What are some professional athletes that you personally admire? I know you're like, I've never seen you play football except in a family video where you were awfully pissed in the 80s that your brothers jumped on top of you and you stained your pink pants. But
I didn't do that. That never happened.
It's like, my pants. I remember this very well.
They probably
not as the baby that was in the stroller.
You know why
they
probably was upset about it? Because probably I'd borrowed the pants, and then now I was going to have to buy a new pair to replace the ones that I just wrecked.
You borrowed it from Peter Sellers or something.
Yeah, probably.
That or George Michael, whichever one you want. Okay, so what kind of professional athletes did you always admire? You never really been Sporty Spice, but I can imagine there's been a couple of people who are like, whoa, damn.
Well, no, I mean, good athletes, I was really impressed by like hockey players because, we had hockey players in around, but it was, but it's funny because the funny part about hockey players is that you'd see these guys and, your mother worked, when I met your mother, she was working in a bar that was near the Montreal Forum, and it was kind of funny because there were an awful lot of other girls who were working there, and some of them had sort of become girlfriends and boyfriend or girlfriends of some of the hockey players.
Okay, you're about to say something really controversial. You're
no.
Gordie Howe like the other way.
No.
Gretzky like to get ski. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh God. No. No. But a lot of these women would, they would get together with the guys, and they would be the hockey players, so that they would be able to have some after practice, whatever. They'd get set up in these. If you look at the de Maisonneuve along to like Guy Street, there are all those apartment buildings, and so some of these girls would be set up in these apartment buildings, and they would be readily available to these hockey players.
Okay.
Nowadays, of course, as you say, with a greater amount of hockey players, with photographers and paparazzi, they can't get away with that stuff, so they don't do it anymore. Or at least they don't do it and get caught.
All right, Dad. Did anyone ever ask you to say, "Hey, Phil, want to try these steroids, man"?
No, actually.
You're hey, Popeye, want some spinach?
No, everything. No.
What's a Bluto, Dad?
Exactly. No, most people.
Compressing that whore olive oil in one of your apartments. It's like, I know what you do with those hockey players.
I'm going to stick it to you. That it, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, we'll continue this.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's just wrap up because we're out of time.
Okay.
I want our shows to be shorter, so I coincidentally said I'm only going to give us 30 minutes to record, and then the thing didn't work for the first 10 minutes. So we're at 20 minutes right now. I think that's a good time to cut.
Okay.
So anyway, the gym's going to be moved pretty soon, but we'll let you guys know about that. I also want to do a commentary on a movie we have nothing to do with, just because I want to watch it
what's
with
that
you.
called?
I want to watch Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme and
Okay.
tear it apart.
Or how about Foxcatcher?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is Ryan Stickgelna,
And this is Philip Tuhon Gelina.
and we are running out of time on Tuhon and Son.
But we're getting exhausted because we're running so fast.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.